Goeiemiddag almal. Ek dink ons is nou al by 3 uur. My naam is Ilse Odendaal. Ek is hierso vanaf Gauteng. Dat ek net gou hierso net seker maak dat ek al die regte knoppies gedruk het. Dat ek net gou hierso kyk. Verskoon my net gou. Riaan, ek gaan jou vra maar net gou hier te help. Ek moet rekord, maar ek het nie...
Ons hoor jou, ons sien jou en daar's 'n recording aan die gang, so jy's reg om te gaan.
Fantasties. Okay, baie dankie. Okay, nou kan ek ontspan. Ons is aan die gang. Welkom almal. Ek het net nou vir Riaan gesê ek is die eerste keer wat ek host. It's the first time that I'm hosting a webinar. And I was now earlier this afternoon one of those people that looks into the camera to see if my makeup it's okay and everybody can see me. So sorry for those 5 people that saw me, but I'll try to do it different next time. We are having the tech talk this afternoon at 3 on a Thursday. So for an Afrikaans speaking person from the Eastern Cape, it's difficult to say all the ths and all the t's, but you are welcome to this tech talk. Before we start, I want to introduce you to the panel this afternoon. We've got Riaan from our Center of Technology, you know him well, and then we are going to chat to Rianette from Cyber Health, and then also Willem from the D6. You all know them well. They are regulars here at FEDSAS and on our webinars. And before I hand over to Riaan, I just want to do all the admin. So I'm going to ask you that if you have any questions, please use the Q&A box and not the chat box. We usually use the chat box to send you links, give you information, but if you have a question, just use the Q&A box there where you can see it, and you can drop us a question now if you want to say where you are from, how's the weather there, any question you want to ask so that we can know who we are talking to. And then if you have a question that does not get answered here today, please take a note of your provincial manager so that you can contact them or send them an email, but just make sure that you know who your provincial manager is. And then our next thing, I'm very excited about this. This is our Tech Talk. I think it's a magazine. It's as thick as a magazine, and because of all the information it has, but it's an amazing magazine. I don't know, Riaan, what do you call it? A magazine, a newsletter, but it's it's an amazing newsletter. If you've got time, please go and read it. There's a lot of information in there that you will need in the future or that you need to know of. So with that, I'm going to hand over to Riaan from our Center of Technology. Welkom Riaan, en ek gee oor aan jou. Laat ek net hierso stop by my. Daar's hy.
Dankie, Ilse. Thanks so much. Welcome, everybody. It's always fun to share a Thursday afternoon at 3 with you, where we share tech talk, a lot of discussion going on around technology in this day and age. I see that I'm on the screen twice because I've got 2 computers open. My one computer just broke down. So it's great to have computers that work, but always difficult if they don't work. I'm just quickly going to share my screen and make sure that we're on the same page here. So the intro for today, just a few opening remarks from my side. We're very glad to welcome Willem, Patric, and Tommie from D6. Going to share with us their solution to election management, although that's the hottest topic today because Gauteng is suddenly in quite a bit of a tiff with election management on an electronic platform, and we're in very deep, high-level discussions with the department because there's a bunch of confusion being created about the allowance or non-allowance of electronic elections in Gauteng. As for the rest of the country, here is a great solution for your election management, e-voting on the platform. And also then Rianette Leibowitz, which is with us today. She's from SaveTNet, talking cyber health, and amazing to think of all our segments of our lives. We're talking e-election because we've got access to devices and internet. We're talking e-AGMs last year. We're talking electronic delivery of school curriculum and material. And suddenly it puts us into a lifestyle where being online and being cyber citizens and being cyber active is very relevant. But with the joys comes the risks, especially with our learners at school level, policy level, as well as then at home. So we're talking cyber safety in the second half of our double feature. Opening remarks. Welcome to 2020. If you can read at close bracket at exclamation mark, you will see on your keyboard that it's the 2 and the 0 and the 2 and the 1. And this is just the opening few months theme for the Center for Technology. Welcome to an uppercase year. It is bigger than we expected, and it's in code. It's a little demakar. So welcome to 2021. But let's decipher it, and let's not be afraid of the uppercase nature of it. Every year, the Center of Technology has a few focus points, and I mentioned some of them in the past. And if you attended our session yesterday, I'm just repeating my story. Last year, we said schools need to operate with someone like a CIO, Chief Information Officer, Chief Integration Officer, or even Chief Innovation Officer. So there's 3 I's that we need to start bringing into our fray. Ons moet so begin dink. Even if we can't have that person on staff, someone in the SGB, someone on management must think like the data management person, not the techie, not someone that plugs cables into computers and projectors, someone that understands the world of cyber benefits, cyber traffic, information value. For this year, we have got a focus point, 2 focus points to just make life more sensible. The first one is kind of slang for let's just get out of emergency mode into natural mode. And we call it, this is how we roll. If you know kids, they will tell you, hey, Dad, this is how we roll. We wear our hair differently, we walk differently, we play games differently, because just this is how we roll. And this is how we roll. Life is now what it is. We can't say a year later, oh my goodness, we think this thing is just going to reset, stop, rewind, play, and we're back in the new world. We must get ourselves and our mindset into responding with a natural response to uncertainty. The only thing that is certain is uncertainty. No one had tomorrow in their hands. So let's get out of emergency mode and let's get into natural mode. We are in the war, but we've always been in the war and we will always be in the war. So let's just react naturally. The second one is something that I encounter when talking to schools about the procurement of tech solutions. So focus for this year, I had this many times last year. I had discussions with schools and then they say, oh, this thing is not for everyone in the school. We're not going to look at it. We've got to make sense of the fact that everything in the market is not for all schools. There's a differentiation. I mean, I drive a Toyota, someone drives a Ford. No one is stupid, we just have choice. But it doesn't mean that one is right or one is wrong. It just means that there's choice in it, and everything in the market is not for all schools. A school has a DNA, a school has a vision. And then everything at a school is not for all learners. And especially, well, I mean, we've got D6 here. They launched D6 Rides. It might not be for all parents, but it might be for some parents. Coding and robotics might not be for all kids, but it might be for some kids. Esports, which we featured yesterday, might not be for all, but it might be for some. So we've got to put ourselves in the mindset that if it's not for all, or if it's not for all, why disregard it? So we do not live in a one-size-fits-one world. And that's what I want to push very hard in a mindset change this year in our schools. If it works for a certain segment, we do it, like rugby. No one challenges that, but all the girls at my kids' school don't play rugby, yet we have it. Choir, chess, debate. It's not as if every learner in the school does everything at the school. So even with technology, look at the solution that fits a broad spectrum. That being said, I just wanted to set a mindset thinking of that. Ilse alluded to the Tech Talk magazine, and the new one will launch first week in March. If you want to grab a screenshot of that QR code, we'll take you to the link to read through this. And everyone that we featured today is also in the solution list of the solution providers of the Tech Talk magazine. So do as the kids do, take a screenshot or a picture of the screen there, and your phone will take you to the magazine. Lastly, a tech tip for the day before we jump right into with discussion with D6 on the election. Once again, setting the philosophy right. If you procure anything, but especially technology, you've got a dilemma. You can only get 2 of those 3 factors. It's either good and fast, then it's not cheap. It's either good and cheap, then it's not fast. Or it's either fast and cheap, and then likely not good. So just think of that when you procure, when you get a solution. We want to see value and not necessarily cost. You want to see stuff that works for a long time and that complies with some sort of standard. The second point in decision making is that of opportunity cost of the alternative. We're talking e-elections today, and we're in a debate with the Department of Education in Gauteng. They say, but it's too expensive to have a system for a school that they procure to run e-elections on. But is it more expensive for the school to buy one system or have a cheaper system, today's I think is for free, than for 100, 200 or 300 parents to drive an average of 10 kilometers back and from school at 5 Rand a kilometer? There you've already spent collectively 10 grand, but we don't think of the alternative cost, of the opportunity cost of the alternative. It's not for free to open your hall. It's not for free for parents to drive to school. So think of that. That's my story for the day. We're going to look at e-elections with D6, and I'm going to ask Willem, Patric, and Tommie to open their mics and their screens. I'm going to stop sharing. And the second half, we'll chat with Rianette. You're welcome to put some questions in the Q&A. Willem, what can you provide as a solution for this e-election, e-voting? A lot of schools have D6. I know it's on the Connect app. And yeah, how can you support this process without us driving to the school and or buying a very expensive system? Over to you.
Thanks, Riaan. Thanks for the opportunity. Just maybe one thing, I think we, from a D6 perspective, we would like to play in that red part in the middle, the not possible part. But anyway, so from a D6 perspective,
good one.
we always, it was actually quite interesting when this electronic elections came up. We have within our D6 Plus environment, both integrated and standalone. And for those users that are not familiar with that, on D6 Plus, which is our new product, or not new, but the flagship product that we are continuously expanding in the market, there is an integrated product stack, which is your entire school management environment that could be utilized or could be managed within the D6 Plus stable of products. But then there's also the standalone communication product. And in both of those products, we always had the ability for schools to run polls to a group of end users, whether that's parents or staff members or a collection of both. And when the requirements from a departmental perspective with this e-elections came out, we assessed the tender process. Obviously, I'm not entirely sure how many people are aware that there has been a tender that was issued, and anyone that would like to be on the list of available or suppliers in the future between now and 2024 had to submit a tender, which we were obviously part of. And we complied with all of that without necessarily having to adjust our product in any way. So maybe to start off, any client that are currently using D6 Plus, whether it's the integrated version or the standalone version, could run the electronic elections within that product without any changes or without any additional costs. Now, for clients that are not using any of the D6 Plus related products, one can utilize our communication module as a standalone, which has the ability to run polls, which is the same as an election within the platform. So maybe if I may, Riaan, I'm going to go over to a screen share just to take the audience through a couple of slides that I've prepared for this session specifically. Can everyone see my screen? Is it showing? Okay.
Yes, yes, you're good to go.
Okay, so just quickly for today is, first of all, can you manage HDB elections within D6? So the answer is yes. If you have the D6 Plus product stack, standalone or integrated, you already have the ability to do so at no additional cost. It is there already. I suppose the biggest benefit is you already know who the parents are within your school and who the staff members are within the platform, because you use it as your communication tool. So there's no need to upload any new lists or do anything apart from just utilizing the data that you already have access to, which is a very important thing because obviously, as we all know, only parents and staff members within the school are eligible to vote. Then I'll quickly go, have we facilitated elections or polls within the platform? Yes, we do. I'll give you a bit of background in terms of how many schools we have supported thus far. Then I'll quickly go into a very high level demonstration and then also what does it cost. So the first one is, can you manage the Hdb elections within the D6 Plus platform? And again, the answer is yes, you can. I'll provide contact details at the end where you can find the manuals of the how-to guides for both clients in terms of how to use it or how to set it up. And as mentioned, it has always been included in the product that some of you might already be using. So just to give the user base within this forum comfort that you can manage this within D6 Plus, we obviously had to assess the tender requirements as issued by the department to ensure that we do comply. We do not want to present something as available and then it's not 100% in line with the requirements by the department. And these were the 5 elements that the department touched on in terms of the capability of the platform that it should comply with, which our compliance in our own view is 100%. But I'm going to give over to Patric, who's also in the school, just to give a very high level feedback in terms of how do we accommodate these 5 specific elements which was required by the department. So Patric, over to you.
Thanks, Willem. Hi, everybody. So because the D6 Plus product already allows our clients to capture and store and process child's personal information, we already hold ourselves to a much higher standard for security requirements than what was required by the tender. We obviously adhere to all of the requirements for POPI and PIA and good governance in terms of data management. So in terms of the requirements for the tender, our solution is built on enterprise level architecture, and we follow industry best practices in terms of security, scalability, and reliability. Our security protocols are implemented at all levels, from the physical access control of the data center and the servers themselves, all the way to network management, identity and access management, role-based authentication of the users accessing the system, and multi-factor authentication of our end users accessing their accounts. So this ensures that the infrastructure and the data can only be accessed by the right people. Unauthorized access,
Patric?
Sorry, go ahead.
So just in layman's terms, only parents can have access to the platform, or parents and staff members. That's layman's terms, no one else. So.
Correct, yes. Sorry if I get a little bit too into the detail. It is quite a technical requirement and a technical topic. And I like to share as much information as possible so that everybody has comfort that we are leading the field in terms of industry best practices. If we look at the security in the system, unauthorized access and malicious activity are monitored and mitigated in our systems using various solutions. We have a dedicated management team that is monitoring and actively mitigating attacks at all times, 24 hours a day. Scalability and reliability are baked into our design. We have multi-point redundancy, we have automated remote backups, and this helps to mitigate the risk of infrastructure failure. Back to you, Willem.
Thank you, Patric. So it's a mouthful, but I suppose the long and short of it is it is critical for us that the data is safe, that the data is accessible by only those people that should have access to it, which is obviously critical from an election perspective. And that's we've complied with all the requirements as set by the DBE within the tender. Just maybe 2 things that we need to touch on: compatibility with all devices. So if there's an election that needs to be, or a poll that needs to be sent out to the end users, which is parents and staff members, it can be done or accessed by those parents or end users on any device. So they can vote either on iOS, Android, any web device or desktop device, and also any web application. So whether it's Internet Explorer or Chrome. So any device is accessible by the end users. So your parents can vote anywhere. And then all the reports that had to be generated as required by the department is then obviously included in the election process. One thing that I want to mention to all the listeners is an election is selecting something. So selecting selecting from options, depending on So candidates within an election would be very similar to if you send out a questionnaire to parents and they need to say either yes or no. It's very similar in concept towards compared to an election. Obviously, there's certain other things within the election which state that it can only occur within a specific time, and there's only X number of people that could be available for selection. So there's certain rules and regulations around an election which is slightly different, which we obviously cater for. That's the only way that we could have submitted our tender. In terms of how have we facilitated elections and polls before? Yes, we have. So about more than 270 schools that we service have utilized our polling capability within D6 in the past. And that consisted of about more than 6,400 polls that was facilitated through the D6 platform, where parents had to provide feedback or vote on specific things through utilizing D6 Connect. Less about the boring stuff, more about the fun stuff. How do you use D6 for election purposes? I'm just quickly going to give you a very high-level overview of what the platform looks like. And keep in mind, this is for a client which is utilizing the D6 Plus integrated product stack. I hope everyone can still see my screen. What I have done is I've created within our D6 environment, I'm just quickly going to share my a different screen here. Let's see, how do I do this now? Hi. Sorry, everyone. There we go. I'm going to go to my phone.
Willem, we're seeing your admin platform.
Yes, there we go.
Okay, there we go. There's the phone.
Okay, so as a parent within the selection process, the schools will obviously have to send certain or a list of nominees that's or that have made themselves electable for the upcoming elections. Now, I'm going to use my D6 training school as an example. As a parent within the D6 application, I have created, as a school, I've created an Hdb Elections folder, and within the Hdb Elections folder, I have my nomination or candidates that have presented themselves to be electable. And that will obviously be done by the school way beforehand, maybe now. You might know who those candidates are that want to be available for election or to make themselves electable. And this could be then a document that is being distributed to all the parents and staff members within the D6 Connect environment. Obviously, I am listed as a parent within D6, my training school. So only me as a parent will have access to this information and no one else. I have also created for myself, I've created an assumed date that on the Wednesday, the 14th of April will be the election day. That is the date that I've added within the D6 Plus environment for all parents and staff members to know that on this day, the elections will take place. And I've just added the nomination list as part of that invite that was sent to all D6 Connect parents. Now, on the specific day of the election, the school will have to send out a notification to all parents, which means that the election will then be open. That notification that is being sent to the parents will just be a normal message that is sent to parents. But within that message structure, the optionality will be provided to the end users to vote on the specific candidates that are electable. So I'm just going to provide an example subject. I'm going to call it 2021 elections.
Willem?
Yes.
I need to switch back to the admin platform.
Yes. Sorry. There we go. Okay, so within the admin platform, I suppose this is visible to everyone. Same message for all.
Yes.
And 2021 elections. Please note that the elections are officially open and will close by end of business, depending on the school's rules. End of business, or will close by 1900 hours. Refer to the list of candidates as provided. And then one can add the list of your candidates, which is just a Google document where one can add the list of candidates to that specific message. And then the questions will be that you will add one question. The question will be, please elect the 5 candidates of your choice. Sorry for the typo. It is a multiple choice, not a single choice. It is a requirement by all users, and this could be Patrick, Willem, Riaan, Spider-Man, Superwoman, and Tommie. So those are the candidates that are available that have made themselves electable. A very important one is we do not want to allow multiple responses by one person. We do have this capability, but that is something obviously one person can only vote once, and you can't change your vote after submission. And you want to ensure that there's a cutoff date, which one can set for any time. Let's assume it was the 14th of April, and the time would be 1900 hours. That's the cutoff date. Then I need to go and determine to whom should I send this message to. And I've got a pre-created channel within the communication platform for all staff and parents to where I will send this piece of communication to, and only they will have access to the elections, and I can press send. So from a D6 Connect perspective as a parent, I will get a notification. I'm just going to go back to where I can actually showcase it within our online. So there's the elections that came up. So this is my D6 Connect environment on the web. As a parent, I would have also received a push notification. There at the top, one can see there's the push notification. Please note the elections are officially open. And within that election, I can go in and I can select Patrick, Riaan, Spider-Man, Superwoman, and Tommie. Those are the 5 people that I want to select, not Willem, and done. There I've selected and sent my response to the school. And if I want to go and add this and resubmit, the response would be rejected because I can only select it or provide the response once. Patrick, I assume that you also received the notification as a parent of the school.
I have, and I have cast my vote.
So what will happen in the back end from a systems administration perspective, this Zoom thingy I'm going to remove. There we go. There's the election that was sent to all the parents and staff members within my test school. Known recipients was 25. And one can here see that 4 people have read it, 3 have already replied, which is a percentage of replies of 12%. If I go into this and I want to see what the responses for that specific question was, I can see that results per option, that Riaan received 3 votes, Spider-Man 2, Superwoman 2, Tommie 2, Patrick 2, and Willem only once. And this results can be extracted to Excel. You can't amend these results, but these will then be the results at the end of the day after all the participants have voted on the platform. These results will then present the school with who the top 5 electable candidates were. And that's pretty much as easy as it is. Patrick, I don't know, Patrick, Tommie, if you want to, if there's anything that I've missed. Yes.
Willem, I quickly want to jump in there. I think we want to be time sensitive as well, but there's a question about D6 being 0 rated or still 0 rated, or on some networks, I think it was 0 rated. So maybe just nail us with the cost implications of the data and then the system cost, if there is any, for using it as an election tool.
Okay, so cost of data, Riaan, we have been 0 rated by Rain, Telkom, and Internet Solutions. Unfortunately, MTN, Vodacom, and Cell C has not come to the party yet. The entire application is, in our view, as data light as we can get it to be. It's not very heavy files that are being distributed, and especially for this election, what you've just seen happening is primarily only text being presented to the end users. It's nothing complex. Patrick, you can jump in here if I'm talking rubbish. But the only file that will be distributed to the end users, which might be slightly more data heavy, is the election, the list of possible candidates that the parents can choose from.
The PDF.
But that could be anything. Yeah, that could be as heavy depending on the design of the document.
Perfect. We've got another quick question, then we've got to step on. there's a question about what about parents that don't have the app? I want to answer that one because I don't think it's, I think we've got to be sensitive that everyone does not, and I want to go back to my first thing, one size does not fit one. What about parents that don't have a car, but we have an election in the hall? Did we ever talk about that? So I think the school can make a very good decision to say, this is the only means of doing it. And for that day, download the app, because that's the only way. That would be my suggestion. Or you can have a hybrid election where some people come to school and possibly vote on the school system. Patrick and Willem has their hands up, but I think that should not be the hurdle, because you've got to manage the norm and not the exception. I'm not sure who asked that question, but I think it's critical to understand that is not the hurdle. Parents have access and take care of that. Willem, Patrick, yeah, add to that, and then we've got to introduce Rianette.
So just remember, it is available on web also. So if you don't have the application, if you have access to any website anywhere,
correct,
you can log into your D6 Connect account. And this is the same election that I've received. Obviously, you can see that I can't amend my decision. I can't amend anything in the election process because it's not active anymore. So it is available on web.
Brilliant. Patrick, did you want to add a last minute, 10 seconds?
That was exactly what I was going to say.
So
you can visit an internet cafe if you need to.
Yeah, it's available on web, and the school should have, the guidelines from the DBE said the school should have a voting station for e-election at school. So access is not a problem. You can do that, but the person can have to provide or at least create a profile. Willem, Patrick, just check the Q&A box and maybe connect with the people there and answer those questions. I'm going to jump to the second half of our discussion and ask Rianette to join the discussion here. Rianette and I come a long way. We spoke at a conference together and we used the same terminology, digital citizenship, in 2014 or 15, I think it was. And we said, we need to manage digital footprint, digital awareness. We saw where the world was going in 2015, and where it is now is just, I think it got there slower, but I think our lifestyle, access to data, internet connectivity, the way schools operate. One of the mantras for the Center for Technology is learn as we live. Our living spaces became far more internet-based, data-based, cyber traffic-based. Rianette, you're the founder of SaveTNet. You've recently published a book, Raising Tech-Savvy or Screen-Savvy Children. I think that's the title. Available in Afrikaans and English, and maybe you can tell us about that a little bit. But for today's pertinent discussion, why should schools and specifically governing bodies put cyber safety, digital literacy, digital awareness on the agenda? Should we be talking about it, or is it just you and me? And are there real risks that qualify for their attention compared to the other challenges? I mean, we've got economic, socioeconomic, we've got a lot of things, but why is cyber safety an issue? And is it an issue? Welcome.
Thank you, Riaan, and thank you to everybody who joined. I just want to say thank you, D6, for saving me the time to travel and preparing dinner, finding parking, etc., etc. So I'm excited as a parent for solutions like this. And as someone who's been part of, the governing body, I must say that it's a critical thing for us to really look at the way forward. So thank you, D6. I really applaud you for that. And hopefully schools will embrace the technology. And luckily, this is a good thing that came out of lockdowns and so forth. I think people are more open to it. And Riaan, you are so right. Considering all the other things that's on the list of priorities, and some of it seem more critical than cyber issues and security and so forth, it is a good question. Like, is this really relevant? Should it be on the agenda? And why should schools even care about it? And I would like to mention three big things that I think should be considered. And the first thing is that we need to have updated policies and procedures at schools, really. And most schools have, done this already, but looking at regular updating of internet access and the policies around that. And of course, how social media is used, not only by the school and the learners and the parents, but in general, what is the school's policies around those spaces? And then, of course, looking at devices at schools and what's allowed, what's not allowed. You and I have had numerous discussions about this and the different ways schools look at device-free environments and so forth, and then parents and their responsibilities. So from a policies point of view, I think that's one aspect. The second thing is, in the past, we used to just worry about this, the children's safety, physical safety at the school, but now there's a different layer. And I'm not talking about the moment they have their phone and they walk out the door. I'm talking about issues such as, and D6 referred to this as well, database management, and how the parents and the children's information is being stored, kept safely, and how it's used.
That's the Poppy world, hey, the world of Poppy. Yeah.
Exactly, Riaan. And considering who's got access to those databases, do teachers have a flash drive with databases on it, or names of kids? Are the names of kids actually put on a poster outside the school, name, surname, grade, things like that, that we need to also consider for cyber safety and their physical security. Another thing is, of course, videos and photos of children or the learners, and how that is being managed. Do we have permission to take photos of the children? Are we, as teachers, allowed to share it? And what is being done to keep those images safe, and where is it shared? And then, of course, social media activities, and how schools are using their Facebook pages, of course, to market the school and to show the amazing things that are being done. But what does the school have in place to ensure the safety and the privacy of the learners? And if this comes back to the policies and the procedures that's been put in place to get those parents' approval for their children. And then lastly, but one that's huge, and this year this topic has been a hot topic, is WhatsApp groups. How are these WhatsApp groups being used, and ensuring everyone's privacy and safety, and of course considering the app and the app's rules.
I like what you're saying. I think the WhatsApp storm was a storm in a teacup. It burnt a lot of electronic ink early in the year and suddenly died down, because I think people realized that we've already exposed ourselves far, far more on Facebook. To complain on Facebook that WhatsApp is going to share your info, that's like going to the Skinnerhoekie and saying, please keep the secret.
Yes,
that's wrong. Yeah, policy.
Just before I forget, another big thing, the third thing, in terms of the risks and why cyber security and safety should be on the agenda, is of course reputational management.
Correct.
There's the risk for the school if they are being breached, if there is a social media storm and a disgruntled employee or parent goes online. How is the school prepared in terms of a crisis communication plan? Do they understand? Is there already a media statement prepared for if the school is hacked, or if someone goes online and shares negative information on social media? And I think this is here where I've seen, with my background being PR and marketing, where schools can really prepare themselves, at a different level. So yeah, reputational management is definitely a key thing. And who is responsible? Who's that dedicated person who's actually online and actively looking at, is there someone on Instagram who's opening an account in the school's name and sharing all kinds of things?
100%. So build the ark before the rain. That is a good tip. What can schools do proactively? But teaching teachers and learners cyber savviness is not new. I think a lot of people are so scared of the risk. We had all the WhatsApp groups in various towns go ballistic with hockey and polo that we don't want to go into now. But what can a school do? You mentioned policy. So update policy or write new policy. You mentioned be ready with PR or managing PR. What is the practical steps? Should we introduce this into Allo once a week? Talk about cyber citizenship, responsible cyber citizenship, bullying at school. I don't know. What can schools do practically? If a school calls you, do you assess what the problem is, or you say, here's a 10-point plan. If you do these things, we've already lifted the temperature. Any ideas there?
Yes, so from the different angles, we've already discussed some of the concerns from a governing body and management point of view. Then when we think about the opportunity we have to educate and help the learners to understand the risks, there's so much that can be done. And here, I always recommend a responsible digital citizen campaign, and like a year-long thing. And it doesn't have to be standalone, because I really think that, like in the beginning of my journey, I spoke about cyber safety, and now I'm speaking about cyber wellness, because it's really relevant to every area of our life. And I think if we can get learners to understand, listen, the way we speak to people with respect in real life, face-to-face, is what we expect you to do online. If we don't lie to each other, we don't lie online. And to actually weave it in, like you said, it's part of our lives, weave it into the lessons that's already been given. So yeah, a campaign and a real nicely drafted and a systematic process where we can say, these are the themes for the year. Every month we take digital footprints, we take apps and how to use them safely. We look at cyberbullying, etc. Another thing is, of course, to have speaking engagements. And I think it helps a school to get someone to come and speak at the school, and just to scare the kids a little bit, make them realize this is real. And of course there's a talk for the learners, the parents, and the governing body and management and teachers. So those things. And of course I would thank you for mentioning my book. Here it is. I would love to see my book in each teacher's hand, because there are 50 topics to discuss, and they're short chapters. And of course, others that I would like to just quickly mention, like the Google's online safety training programs. I've been involved in developing cyber safety toolkits that's been approved by the department and so forth. So there's really a lot, but it helps to maybe connect with someone like me or someone that you feel comfortable with to help you to just get that whole program sorted out for you.
I want to ask two questions in closing, combine them. Number one, is it only the school's responsibility to talk about cyber safety, or should the schools involve the parents? Because, I mean, I think as a parent, and I've got a 9 and 10-year-old, I lie, they're 10 and 11 now. It's my responsibility, because they spend more time at home on devices than at school on devices. How does a school empower parents and make it part of the stream? And last one, how can people reach you? We've got about 2 minutes left, but how can we take this very important topic to our school community, to our parent community, and then how can people reach you?
Okay, I will quickly I've just posted my contact details, so my email address.
Show us the book again. Show us the book. You were too quick on the book.
Afrikaans version, and then the English version is available online as well. So in terms of whose responsibility it is, I specifically said the school has an opportunity to educate the children and to play a role in helping them to become responsible digital citizens. And I do believe that it will help the school to teach these kids. However, I do think that it's the parents' responsibility. And it's because this device is paid by a parent and belongs to someone else, not the school. And whenever something happens like cyberbullying, I always remind the parents, this is not the school's responsibility to sort out the cyberbullying issue, even though schools are willing to work with the parents and help with the situation. But this is actually the crime scene. It's not the playground. And this is why I think parents have to be, also given some information, and they trust the school to share with them stuff that's relevant for their kids.
Yeah. So you posted your information in the chat box. Anybody want to get hold of you? Contact Rianette at bookings@rianette.com or rianette.com for a web page. Or you can contact me. I'm going to give my info as well. Ilse will share it in the closing as well. tech@fedsas.org.za. I've asked the D6 team to also share their information. Rianette, thanks for sharing with us. I think this is such an important topic. What we'll do is we'll do a follow-up YouTube interview and then post it so that teachers can share it with their class, principals and SGB members can share it with their staff room, and possibly even to the parent community, a shorter snippet to say, but let's just focus on these things. So thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing with us. We really appreciate that. I want to ask the D6 team to open their mics as well and their videos. I think the two topics are unrelated, but so related. D6 commented in the background that data, which is the stuff that they manage, is the goal of the future and the goal of today, and we've got to manage it well. So we've got to keep this discussion open and ongoing. So thank you so much to the D6 team for sharing with us. Their contact details are there if you want to use. I think Willem never mentioned the price of the election system. We spoke about the price of the data. I think it's included in the D6 package. Willem, Patric's nodding his head. So I'm giving you. Go for it.
If you make use of the D6 Plus communication module, whether integrated or standalone, it is built-in functionality, and you can use it as many times as you wish for whatever polls and questionnaires you would like.
Well done. And you can assist with setup and training and that sort of thing. So well done, D6. Thank you for coming to the party. We will share the news. There's a lot of schools out there that are running electronic elections shortly. Rianette from SaveTNet, raising a screen savvy child. I think that is where we got to go with this. We got to be savvy in this. Thanks for sharing your time with us today. Ilse, thank you for hosting, and you can close for us today. Thank you for hosting Tech Talk, your first run. Appreciate the audience. You can close for us. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for joining in. Contact me at tech@FEDSAS if you need, tech@fedsas.org.za if you need any further assistance. Waar na jou, Ilse? Baie dankie.
Dankie Riaan en dankie aan al die panelists. Thank you everyone. I just want to share my screen and remind you about our SGB training that starts on the 15th of March. I'm just going to go quickly through my slides to just show you all the training that we are planning to host, all the webinars. If you see, I'm not going to go through every slide, but there's a lot of SGB training that starts from the 15th of March right through to the end of the year. So if you want to see the schedule, just go onto our website. You'll see there's like a graphic block that says SGB Elections. Then you click on it, and all this information you'll see on our website. And just to remind you again that if you have any questions, please contact your provincial manager. There's their cell phone numbers and their email addresses, and just pop them an email if you have any more questions, or you can contact Riaan. His number is there on the bottom of the screen, Riaan van der Bergh. He's the manager of the Center of Technology, and there's his email address, tech@fedsas.org.za. And that's it from me. Thank you for joining us. I hope you have a wonderful afternoon. Thank you, Riaan. Thank you, all the panelists. And that's it for us. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Cheers, guys. Thanks so
much.
much.
Take care.
Bye-bye.